All right, let's stop now. It seems that this technique is not working here. But for the gentleman, it's working. So let's see. Did you find anything useful when you talk to one another?
Yes.
All right. Basically, what you did is a very simple technique called think, pair, share. And people can learn a lot from one another, by the way. Not necessarily learn from an instructor or professor. They can actually talk and learn a lot from one another. So that's a technique to keep people engaged and also give you some feedback about what's going on. If I wanted to complete this, I would ask you to share. So let me do this briefly. Name one thing you got out of this. Primary sericity effect? What do you got? Name one thing, anything, what you can remember from this. No allowed devices, allowed devices. Yes, start with clear outcomes. What do you guys got? Keep attention. Give me an example. How to keep attention? Breaks. Take breaks. Change voice. Yes. Okay. You see, every person will be different. Sometimes you pay attention to something, the next person pays attention to something different. So when you actually talk, you get more and more ideas. All right. This was our first chunk. Now we're done with this. This was all about attention, what the research says about attention, and how can you use it in our classroom. So the second principle is basically novelty. The brain is attracted to novelty. Your brain is always attracted to unusual things. And that's by nature of human beings. Why? Because if you don't pay attention, you'll be eaten alive. That's what human beings are. Their beginning life is like that. If you don't pay attention to what's happening around you, you could be killed, bitten by a snake, whatever. But in nature, if you don't pay attention, you're dead. So by nature, human beings pay attention to things that goes around them. Anything unusual, they will pay attention to it. But it's the norm. If it's everyday thing, if it's just talking, they lose the attention. So we need to be novel. So what research said about this? Well, brain seeks stimuli. Your brain needs something to stimulate it out of the normal things. You need to have something different. And of course, it's the same idea about attention wanes over time. People lose attention quickly. So you have to give them something to bring that attention back, something novel, something unusual. Well, when they are stimulated, believe it or not, they get motivated. When they are interested in something, they pay more attention. And definitely mystery derives interest. If you give them a question at the beginning and you don't answer it until the end, or the answer for this question is basically the whole today's lecture, they will be paying attention because they want to know the answer for it. And definitely using more than one sense of like hands, ears, eyes is better than just listening. So using multi-sensory is better than using just a unisensory of just listening or only seeing. So if you have seeing, listening, and writing, and doing, and walking, discussing, and all that, that's definitely better. The more senses you use, the better learning will take place. So let's see how to apply this to teaching. Again, it's always going to be common. You're going to see this multiple times. And by the way, just a quick disclaimer, a lot of these principles are overlapping. You will see that they are sometimes have the same common sense. So they all agree that using electronic devices in class is not productive. You need to stop using those. Definitely, you cannot lecture or talk straight at them for more than, we said, how many minutes? 15 minutes maximum. After that, you need really to do something else, a different activity. The website of our department is called ATLE, the Academy of Teaching and Learning Excellence. If you Google ATLE Interactive Techniques, Google that and you will find, not now, or don't take out your phones. You will find a list of about 247 techniques you can use during class time. So you're never going to run out of strategies to engage students at class time. Okay? Well, again, breaks are important. So when you stop in the middle of a sudden and you show something unusual, that will get their attention. In a minute we'll see. But also, as I said, it started with a big question that will be answered later. Don't put everything on the slide. If the slide has everything you said and you're reading the slide, I can read it. I really don't need you to be standing there. If you're not adding to the slide, so when you have everything clear, you lose interest. You're not interested anymore because I have it already clear. Human beings are interested in what they cannot get, always. It's a human nature. And definitely it means you need to use a lot of sensory. Your hand, your eyes, your ears, your legs, whatever. So you need to use all of these. What do we mean by multisensory? Actually, this is what of the learning principles based on research, and I have a handout for you here. This handout right here, it has 6 learning strategies for students. How students can learn. So one of these strategies is called dual coding. Dual coding means like doing activity in multiple ways, not just by writing or reading, but use additional strategies to do that. So that's called dual coding. So what does that mean? You combine, let him see something and write something, let him hear something and discuss it, let him talk to one another and write a reflection. So it's always more than one sense used at the same time. So let's see what you can do with that. For you to help him use the dual coding, I would use demonstration. I bring stuff to class. I use visual aids. I would bring, if you have, I'm sure a lot of you in engineering and in health, you are nursing. A lot of people in nursing here. No nursing? What do you have? Nursing? You have nursing education? Any engineering here? No? So what is the major? Dentistry. Yeah, dentistry definitely going to have some props. You know, you're going to bring something to class to show. That's dual coding. They can see it and take notes. They can see it and touch it. It makes a huge difference than like just talking about it. So that's the one thing. Definitely, when you see something, it's better than just hearing it. So always bring something, and in your discipline like dentistry, that's probably very easy to do. But make sure you do it in every class, right? Pictures are always, so you know that a picture can be better than 1,000 words. And it's very known that you can show a picture and let him think about what this picture means. Don't give him the answer. Can you explain what is this? Always let him guess. Think about it. Don't give him the answer right away. Make it mysterious. You know, mystery drives interest. If you don't tell them what it is, they're going to start thinking about it. They're going to pay attention. Oh, it might be this, it might be that. Guessing is important, really. It's one of the principles, too. If you have field trips, that's really important. Sometimes you can do virtual field trips. You don't have to leave the class. You can do it in your phone or an app or a simulation. It always works. All right. Some examples for this dual coding. What do we call picture prompt? As I said, just show a picture, let him think about it. Use a categorizing grid. What does that mean? If you have a lot of terminology that can fit in different categories, I would give him a sheet with scrambled terminology and let him see where this term fit. Put it in the right category. Even something like that, if it's a written word on a piece of paper, that will make him see it and put it in the right place instead of like write the right category. That's completely different. So you see something and move it by your hand. Now it's a dual coding. Concept map, I'm sure you all know what concept maps are. So you put the concepts, connect them together in a map with all the connection, with the arrows back and forth. Role playing, do you ever use a role play? In dentistry, I'm sure you maybe role play a doctor, a dentist with a patient. So maybe that's also something you can capitalize on. Let him do this in class, and instead of ask him a question to write it in an exam, let him actually role play a patient, a doctor scenario. You have a scenario, let's see what you can do in this situation. Completely different story. Draw for understanding. This one you probably haven't heard before, but I would ask you to draw the concept I've just explained to you. Well, actually, I want you to do this. So take a piece of paper, and now I want you to translate novelty and attention in a picture. Think about what can you draw to explain your understanding of this concept, novelty. Draw a picture and be ready to share it and explain it. Yeah, this is going to be funny, but but actually it can tell me if you got it right or wrong. It could be really funny, but it'd be right. It doesn't have to be like a fantastic, elaborate picture. Any scribble that would explain your understanding is fine. You don't have to be a Picasso or Rembrandt to draw this. Just any scribble that explains what you got out of this. And while we do this, let me give you this handout. Please spread it out. So this is basically a list of quick assessment strategy that some of these were already shared and some we will share later, but this is a very brief list of those strategies. One of them is like draw for understanding, and more we will get to soon. So anybody wants to share your picture? Don't be shy or embarrassed. Anything is okay. I just want to check at least one to see where you are standing. Want to share? Anyone wants to share? Any volunteers? Yes, okay. Yeah, maybe raise it up so I can see it. Okay, can you explain it to us? Go ahead.
First of all, I would ask you, what did you understand from this one?
I see a person smiling with like an idea coming of her brain, and there's something right in there.
And something flying.
I couldn't see that what's inside. It's flying? Okay.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
That means always using novelty can contact the imagination of the student.
All right, very good. Excellent. Do I have a microphone for the audience? Because maybe, I'm not sure if this is working. Yeah. Okay, if somebody wants to talk, maybe use this. Okay. One more person, one more volunteer. Any more volunteers? Okay, we got 2 volunteers. Who wants to go? Can you pass it to her? So go ahead. Can you explain the picture and tell us what does that mean? You, go ahead. Mm-hmm. Explain the picture you have to us and what it means.
It's an ambiguous picture
Mm-hmm.
where you attract cognitive reactions in students.
Okay.
It's 2 faces that make at the same time a similar cut, which is used in psychology if you look at it this way.
Let's see. I can see, sorry.
It's a small one.
Oh, I see. So 2 faces like looking at each other?
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
Okay. That means something that is ambiguous
Uh-huh.
to make students think, what is it?
All right.
It's a back and forth, like a back and forth.
So it's a mystery for them. Mystery drives interest. Exactly right. Absolutely. Great. Thank you. Anybody else wants to share from this side? All right. We're good. Let's see here. So can you think of an application in your own discipline? Use the same handout here on the second box and write down something you think you can use from this in your own class. Some idea. One idea that you think I could use this in my own class, in my course design, in my lesson planning, in my syllabus, in my everyday activity. What can I do with this information? Just one idea, even just one word. Write it down. And you can share with one another, that's fine. Share what you have. Might be easier that way. Let me see if it's going to work. Still not working. Yes, yes, come on, yes. If you see somebody raising their hand, raise your hand too. If you see somebody raising hand, raise your hand too. And keep it up. That's the whole point. Don't take it, put it down. Keep your hands up until everybody raises their hands. Very good. They're doing a great job here. All right, we're good. So do you get any good ideas? All right. Okay, are you still paying attention? What does this have to do with anything? Did you pay attention to this? Right? It doesn't have to do anything with your science, with dentistry, or engineering, or anything, but just a mental break. Let me get the attention back again, by something like that. It's nothing to do with the science at all. So that was the second principle. What was the first one? Can you remember? Attention. Second one was novelty. The third one is prior knowledge. So basically attention, memory formation require focused attention. We talked about disallowed devices, primacy, recency, outcomes, chunk. Novelty, brain attaches to novelty. Also disallow devices, do activities, lesson on slide, big question, dual coding. That's in summary. So before we go to the third one, prior knowledge. What do we mean by prior knowledge? The knowledge that the students come with to class. Right, exactly. So you build on that prior knowledge. Don't assume they have nothing. They always come with something in their heads. Sometimes it's insufficient or incorrect or inaccurate. So the problem is every word you think of is actually tell me about your background. If I say, for example, the word tree, what comes to your mind? Forest? A palm tree? Yeah, everybody would think something different. You're not going to agree on one thing. Everybody comes with a different background. It could be a palm tree, it could be an apple tree, it could be whatever, you know. So that's the schemata. That's what your background information is. So you need to know that prior knowledge before actually start giving them new knowledge, because you're not sure what is that knowledge is. You may assume they got it right. Usually have prerequisite for a class, right? They have to take this class before coming to your class. So you would assume, well, they must have that information. But believe it or not, sometimes they don't. Or even worse, not only forgot it, but they remember incorrect information. So activating this prior knowledge is really important to increase understanding and comprehension. If you build on the correct information, that's an enhancement of learning. If they come with incorrect information, they will be struggling to fit that information into the schemata or the structure they already have in their heads, right? And that's why prior knowledge, when activated, sufficient, appropriate, and accurate, it will enhance learning. So it has to be activated. You have to make him bring that prior knowledge information. You have to make sure it's enough information. And you have to make sure it's actually accurate and appropriate information. Sometimes they come with misconceptions. And that happens a lot. And of course, vice versa. When you have inactive, inappropriate, insufficient information, it will hinder the learning. It will make learning a very difficult process for them. So how you can actually apply this to teaching? All right, well, there are several activities you can do. First of all, you need to determine the extent of a student's prior knowledge. How would you know students' prior knowledge? Do you do anything in class, first day of class, beginning of class, to know how much the students know? Do you do anything like that? Ask a questions? Let's ask questions, of course, right. I'll give them maybe a survey, right? I will give them a survey about the topics I'm going to cover, see how much they would know about it. So basically you can ask a question, use a diagnostic test, like maybe think, pair, share. You know the activity we did? You can ask them to do this. Ask a question about the major topic that you will cover, see how much they know. Or ask a question about prerequisite information, information that you're going to need from another class to help you build on, see how much they actually know. You can use also background knowledge probe, it's called BKP, which is ask them to write a paragraph about some of the required information that you assume they have it, and see how much actually you know before you jump into doing it. Like if you're taking chemistry, you maybe need to take math or calculus, right? So if they come with insufficient math or calculus information, they will not be able to do any chemistry. They need to make sure they actually have that information first. You could give them the final exam on the first day. Believe it or not. It could be a version of the final exam, not exactly the final exam, but some version of the final exam you're going to give them on the first day, see how much they can do with that. Also, probably from your own experience, you would see students making the same mistakes every year, every semester. They're doing the same mistakes. And there is a pattern for it. So you see there is a problem that is common. So maybe look at these and analyze them. What is the issue that usually they come with? The errors they always commit. They always do the same mistakes in the exam. Make a list of those. Make sure you address these issues early on. Also, you need to identify the gaps in prior knowledge. What are they missing? How would I know what is missing? You ask question, but do you know what are the prerequisites they need to come up with? Do you know what the content of the course they are required to take before coming to your class? Probably not. So maybe you need to check. What is the information they're supposed to know before they come in? So you can actually check that information. See if they actually got it or not. Okay, so what happens if you have maybe 3 or 4 people who don't have that information out of 30? What do you do? Ignore them? Hopefully not. So maybe you can give them some additional resources. Maybe you can direct them to a place where they can study a little bit the subject so they can keep up with the rest of the class. But what if the majority of class of these students have no clue? They have no idea. What are you going to do? Do it in the class? Yes, exactly. So you need actually, in that case, if you see that the majority of the students don't have the prerequisite information, stop. Spend maybe the first 1 or 2 classes to review all that information. Make sure they all get it, because it's no good to start building something with no foundation. It's going to collapse. And you need to know this early, better than know it at the midterm. You know, when you're surprised that half of the students are failing. And because you didn't know that actually they don't have the information they need to know before coming to your class. Yes. Activate prior knowledge. How you activate the prior knowledge? In every class. Now we're talking about every single class. Now you taught them last week. What do you do this week? Somebody mentioned here. Revise what you talked about last week. Always keep connecting the topic together so they can see the big picture. Connect to prior knowledge, always build on it. What we call RPVRB. So you review what happened last week and then preview what you will do this week. View it, explain it, and at the end of class, review what you just explained and preview what will happen next week. It's like a connecting process. Here's what happened last week, here's what happened this week, here's what's going to happen next week. They're all connected, they have to make sense. Okay? Sometimes they come with misconceptions, and that's even more difficult to challenge. They have the wrong ideas, they have the wrong information. Believe it or not, there was a study with students from Harvard University, graduates, Harvard University graduates, which is like a very high esteemed university, like the best graduate ever, and they asked them a couple questions, and they had it all wrong. One of those questions was this question: what causes the seasons? Think about it, don't answer right away. What causes the winter, the spring, the summer, fall? Think for a second. What causes the season? If you think it's A, raise your hand. If you think it's B, can you read it from the back? All the answers? Do I need to read it for you? Okay. So what causes season? The change in Earth's distance from the sun during the year, the tilt of Earth's axis in the orbit, the Earth's orbit around the sun, slightly oval, the Earth is not perfect sphere. So if you think it's B, raise your hand. If you think it's C, raise your hand. If you think it's D, raise your hand. So I will count to 3, and you speak out your choice, A, B, C, or D. Okay. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and you say A or B or C, whatever. Okay. 1, 2, 3. All of them? You see, this is one of the major misconceptions by a lot of people. It's basically the tilt of Earth's axis on its orbit. The Earth does not, go in a straight axis. It goes in a tilted axis, something like that. And this is a very common misconception. And I'm sure in every discipline there will be things like that. You can see them in the exams. Students making the same mistake over and over. So you need to know about these errors and address them early on. What about this? Anybody in biology? So a small acorn like this, over time grow into a huge oak tree. The wood in such tree can weigh many tons, even after it has been cut into logs and dried. Where does the most of the mass come from as the tree grows? Does it come from the mineral in the soil, organic matter in the soil, gases in the air, or sunlight? It's a very common misconception. Where do you think the big tree trunk comes from? All this wood, where does it come from? Minerals? So organic matter in soil? Let me give you another question to answer this question. What happened if we cut all the trees in the forest to the level of CO2? Will increase? Right? Why? Take trees. What do photosynthesis? What the plants absorb or do from the air? What do they take from the air? Carbon dioxide. What is the major component of a living cell? Yeah, what element? Oxygen? Carbon. Carbon. That's the major component of any living thing, especially the trees. Trees takes a lot of carbon. So can you answer this now? It is the gases in the air. It absorbs a lot of carbon from air, and that's what builds the building block of the trees. A lot of people think it's the mineral, organic material, or fertilizer, but it's not. So misconceptions like these are common in every discipline, believe it or not. So you need to identify those misconceptions. Because if a student comes to your class with misconception and leave with the same misconception, that's not good. All right? All right. So another thing you can do to check prior knowledge is to let students guess. Always ask them, what's going to happen next? What do you think the answer would be? Just guessing will activate prior knowledge. Will make him sure, go back to your brain, in the back of your brain, think, what could be the answer? And that will activate their prior knowledge for sure. The main idea here is you have to be careful with that. That's the whole trick. Because if they guess wrong and you don't correct it, they will remember the wrong thing they mentioned. So you have to immediately correct them if they don't get it right. Don't let them guess and live with guessing, because now they're going to remember the wrong guess they made. Because people tend to remember what they said in class. So that's the thing. Immediate feedback is really important. Okay? All right. Let's see here. How can you apply this? Again, one more time, go to your worksheet and think about how can you use this in class? The prior knowledge. What can you do with the prior knowledge in your own class? What can you do with this information? In the way you design your course, in the way you design each single class, or what you can do with it? What do you see? Anything useful out of it? Go ahead, write it down. In the sheet, the same sheet right here. Under prior knowledge can hinder or help learning. And feel free to share with the group. You don't have to do it individually. Go ahead already and think as a group, what can you do with this? Yeah, you need to talk to one another, you know. Yeah, this is a time when you talk, you work. Because this is my understanding of a workshop. You work and I shop. So go ahead and work. Yes, question. Do you have the microphone? Oh, you're raising your hand already. You're done? That was fast. That's good. Thank you. Trying to give you a minute or two. Okay? You need one more? Oh, I have an extra one here. Yeah. That's the last one, actually. So are you guys ready to share? We need to share it now as a plenary, as a group. What do you get out of this? How can you use prior knowledge activation in your own class? Yeah, go ahead. Feel free to share. There's no wrong answer. Whatever you can remember, it doesn't have to be significant. Even if you just remember the black slide I put between each topic. That's good. Just remember this. I'm not sure. Come on. All right. Who was willing to share? Thank you. Yes. Oh.
Yeah, I would share. We were just asking about the readiness of the students prior to getting into the college and prior to coming to the college.
From second school.
And in their testing, we have preparatory.
Let me get you the microphone. Hold on a second. Can I have the microphone? Do you have the microphone somewhere? The microphone? Where'd it go? It disappeared. Who got the microphone? It was here. What? Somebody got it? Yes. Can we have that? We use it. Thank you. So. Hmm? Oh yeah, they don't want to give. Okay, go ahead. Yes, please. So readiness of students coming from high school into college.
Into the college. So for us in the industry, we have a preparatory year. So
Okay.
Preparatory year.
Yes.
And, this would give them knowledge in English, so they become more proficient in English.
Just English?
English, math, and certain.
So basically the prerequisite they need to go into dentistry. Okay.
Correct. So,
Mhm.
and what we see is, yet they have
Deficiency.
difficulty in English, and we teach it in English. So we were thinking if we could assess their, in the college, their ability to understand the language,
Sure.
and then maybe give the preparatory year some advice or whatever.
Right, absolutely. So that's a very valid question. They come, take a whole year in English, but they're still not prepared to be taught in English. But you can check their prior knowledge in English before you get started. That's very important now. If somebody is struggling, you can direct him to another resource. Maybe you need to go back study. Maybe you need to do extra class in English. But if everybody's struggling, you can't really go ahead and teach him in English because they won't get much of it, you know. So that's really important now. Prior knowledge now makes a huge difference in this case. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's one very practical example. If they don't know the English language, then what's the point of teaching them English? They don't get much of it. They're going to be losing most of the information. All right, what else you'd like to share? Thank you. Is it on now? Oh, okay. What else? What do you got? Yes. Go ahead. We have another minute before the break, so go ahead. Uh-huh. Okay, so a variety of strategy for teaching and evaluation. Yes.
By using different tools, methods, strategies, and even colors inside
The slide.
the slide.
Yes. Sometimes you have a different color for the text in the slide. Maybe you notice I do this a lot, so it gets your attention to specific words.
Even variety in sound. In my voice.
That's two. Using the voice, changing the voice. Now we're going back to the attention, novelty, and prior knowledge. Yes?
Using also a relaxed atmosphere.
So relaxing atmosphere, we'll get to this, but this is not one of the principles. It's another principle actually we're going to talk more about. That's more about the emotions, and we'll get to that, but thank you. Well, more?
Using practicing what I'm teaching.
Using some time to practice. You're actually covering most of the principles.
One other important point is an intelligent point.
Uh-huh.
To use what makes this generation not concentrate
Mm-hmm.
as a tool for teaching and learning. I mean using technology.
Yeah, of course, technology.
We can use like applications like Kahoot.
Yes, you can use technologies to get their attention. That's definitely one thing we should advise, but be careful when you use technology. We may talk more about this in the coming session, but now I want to just respect your break time, so go ahead and take a break. Come back in 15 minutes.